Welcome back to Sledgehammer Horror, guys. I am Ken Sledge, and let's talk horror. Now, today I'm joined by the amazing Zoran Gavoyich. Am I saying that right?
Gavoyich. It's Gavoyich.
Okay, Gavoyich, man. How you doing, brother?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you very much for having me on your show today.
Yeah, I'm so stoked, man. So a little bit about Zoran, for those of you that aren't familiar with him. I'm originally from Chicago, Illinois. He's a Midwest boy as well. He's the creator of the YouTube channel Low Carb Comedy and the viral video Social Masochist 1 and 2, the music videos, right?
Yes, social mediasochist, one of the hardest.
I cannot say that right,
no.
man.
I'm so mad at the name of that song. I love Morgan and Common Shiner, the guys that did and everything, but I'm like, man, if this had been called something else, it probably would have been easier to search ever. And I was like, media, this is not a word, but I love it. I love it so much.
No, it's awesome, man. And even though I'm a Detroit boy, so it's nice to be talking to someone from the Midwest that is as successful as you are. And it's something that, I mean, it's even before we get into the meat of it. You went to Savannah College of Art and Design to study film and television, which then you decided to promptly ignore that degree and went into improv comedy. Now, what made you decide to go into improv?
So I'd actually been doing improv since high school at Second City in Chicago. I was actually at a show and my mom arranged it. It was a show for the House Rabbit Society that my mom's a veterinarian, so she was part of this thing. She arranged it so that I got called on stage and had to improvise with SNL people, one of them being Neil Flynn, who is the janitor on Scrubs. And I got to do a little party game scene and improvise on stage as a boy with a hairball. So I just basically sat up there and just went. It was delightful. And because of that, I learned they had high school classes, started taking those. I took more improv in college. And then when I got out, I was like, well, I'm back in Chicago now and I got to meet some folks. And well, I've always enjoyed improv. So I decided to go through Improv Olympic, met a lot of great folks who have then been in Social Mediasochist and a ton of low carb comedy videos. And yeah, just did improv for that amount of time. This is my cat Phantom, who is just decided to jump in occasionally. And yeah, I tried every vein of comedy because then that led to sketch comedy with my group Long Pork, which we had a full-size graboid in our show in Chicago there because I am a Tremors fan. And then I did stand-up comedy as well. And all through it, I've also still been doing online videos.
Right. And for those of you that don't know, I have all the YouTube and social media links down in the description. So make sure you're giving him a follow. He's also been an editor for quite a long time, working with companies that are no longer around, like Maker Studios, Defy Media, and the new G4. Also,
I mean, they're still around, but because I've worked for them, I assume I'm going to take them down because Maker's gone, Defy's gone. But I'm sure it's all because of me.
Yeah, you're the common denominator here, huh?
Oh, yeah.
But you also started editing videos for Dead Meat. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Dead Meat or not, but back in 2018, and now you're a producer for that channel, and They Talk, something that everybody that knows me knows. They Talk is so special to me. My daughter, who is almost 2 now, is completely obsessed with They Talk, and she calls it Scare Me, because the very first time we were ever watching it, Jason scared her. So at that point, it just became Scare Me, and we watch it every day, and we appreciate you, man. For those of you that haven't checked out They Talk, what it is, you take your slasher killers such as Jason Voorhees, Ghostface, Michael Myers, and it inserts an audio commentary track as to what these people are really thinking and really saying. So I cannot recommend They Talk enough. So I got to ask this for my own personal.
Yeah.
And again, if you can't answer this, I totally understand. Will we be getting a season 2 of They Talk?
I know. So I'll say season 1 destroyed me a little bit because it was a lot more work than I thought it was going to be. It's 80 to 100 hours of my own work, not other people as well, doing that season. And I loved it. And I'm glad the way it turned out. But we were going like up to the wire and having copyright issues. And there's just much going on that I was just like, I need a break. And so I'm getting to the point where, yes, I want to do a season 2. James wants to do a season 2. But I am fully into the Tremors kill counts now. So I've got to get those squared away and everything. And since James is taking time off, I know he's not going to want the channel to become the Zoran show. So
Sure.
we won't add They Talk on top of the Tremors kill counts and just be like, well, Zoran's taken over for 6 months. That's what it is now. Yeah, so it's going to be in 2022 at some point. We do want to do another season. I have ideas for where I would go for certain things, and I've learned a lot from the previous seasons, from all of the love and or other comments that I've gotten for They Talk as well. So
yeah. And honestly, I'm so glad the community is reacting the way they are, not only to you running some kill counts here for a while, but to James taking a break, man. The guy needs a break. He's been doing this for so long, and all the work that goes into doing these videos. And not only that, but he has a lot more writing he has to do with every single episode. And I know the work that I have to do just from doing this, you know? And so, I mean, the community has been so good and so supportive of him taking the break. And we're so excited about him and Chelsea finally getting able to, you know, being able to tie the knot. That's so special. And he couldn't have had someone better to come over. And that's what a perfect segue, because January, you will be the first person ever to write and host a kill count with the Tremor franchise. Now that starts on January 14th, will be your first episode, and it'll be every other week rather than every week to kind of space it out a little bit. So I do want to ask one more question to you real quick, since you are a big fan of the Tremors franchise. Is the original your favorite in the franchise?
Okay, it's a toss up between 1 and 2. 2 is a very special movie for me because it's one I used to watch a lot with my brother, and we would quote a lot. So I've probably seen 2 more than 1. I mean, 1 is just, to me, it's, you know, town name. It's perfection. It is just such a brilliant balancing act of comedy and horror, and just the best practical effects, creature designs of that time. And it's magical. It captures that. And I think the second one does that equally as well, and on much less budget. They only had $4 million budget for that second one, and they stretched that thing. It looks theatrical. It looks like it could, you know, be up there right with the other ones. Then the later ones start to get a little more direct to video feel with different budgets and things, and you know, the advancement of stuff. But 1 and 2 are pretty neck and neck for me. I can't say which one is better. I love them both.
When you talk about being quotable, because I'm the same as you, we watched that movie a lot as kids, and I can't tell you how many times me and my cousin Josh would say, it's going to be big. Is it going to be today? Grady, get your ass down here. Like, those are, you know, these things that, and it's amazing to see all these other people that are so influential in what we're doing, and how much that meant to you as well. You know, with you and your brother, that was me and my cousin, you know, like Nightmare on Elm Street 4, you know, when Kincaid said, take that motherfucker, when they're in the junkyard, like, all these things that meant so much to me as a kid. I get to meet amazing people that went through those same experiences and were quoting the same things, even though, I mean, me and you were both Midwest boys, but a lot of people on other sides of the country were all experiencing the same thing. And that's much horror has meant to all of us for so long. And I'm so excited to see what you have in store for us for the kill count, man. I cannot support you enough in what you're doing.
Very excited to share it with you. It's been a long time coming. Those things aren't easy to write, as I have learned. Man, I have a lot of respect for James and what he's been doing, and I'm very glad that he is taking this break, because that man is nonstop.
Well, and you know, you surround yourself. I've had the honor to work with James and Chelsea a couple different times, and they're just the most genuine people. Like, what you see is what you get with them. They're so kind, and, you know, they took time out to talk to my kids, and, you know, they're just great people. And I know my daughter's going to want to meet you when we're done with this, but before we finish this, we got to start this.
Let's do it.
So I want to take you back to the past here for a little bit, Zoran, and I want to talk about what got you started in the horror genre, your first horror movie, and your first horror movie was?
The Gate, 1987, I believe.
What an amazing movie. This is a movie, I like to think of this as a gateway drug. You know, because there are some people that say, oh, that's too kid. Like, you know what? I've always said that The Gate is totally a horror film. Just like I stand by, you know.
Such a great cover. Man, I love that poster so much.
Yes. Oh. And then it's just like, to me, Ghostbusters. I've always considered the first Ghostbusters, you know, a horror movie. Yeah, it's got a little bit kid aspect to it, but man,
it's
you're
more
tell me that
adult to me
not horror.
Than, I'm very surprised that Ghostbusters became the animated series and everything, because I watch Ghostbusters, love Ghostbusters, but watching that again, I'm like, oh, there's like sex jokes and there's a lot of like adult humor in this. This was not meant to be a kids movie when it came out, but
and you even separate Ghostbusters from Ghostbusters 2 with those jokes. I mean, Ghostbusters 2 takes it way down and is definitely more kid oriented in Ghostbusters 2 compared to Ghostbusters 1. But
Ghostbusters 2 starts with kids at a birthday party being like, well, we know what this is now. Everybody's dancing and they all want He-Man.
He-Man. So with The Gate, do you remember how old you were the first time you had seen it?
I don't remember exactly. I want to say I was close to the age of the main protagonist. So they're like, what, 10, 12, something like that. I think that's why it stuck with me, is because this is one of the few horror movies that has, like the kid protagonists, which I think happened more in the 80s than it does nowadays. I think I can really only think of it as like, that's a true R-rated horror movie that's with kids in it.
And this one does follow those. Like you said, this is all about the kids. This isn't just the kids or the side plot. These are strictly from the kids' point of views. I mean, we all learned how to spin records backwards from this movie.
So, like, what? There's messages back here for a delicious lentil soup.
So this is another movie that we just talked about, how you and your brother were close with watching horror movies. Is your brother who you watched this one with, or do you remember who you watched this with for the first time?
No, I really don't remember the moments of when I watched this for the first time or anything. I know that my mom showed me a lot of movies that I should not have watched at the ages that I watched, because she thought they were cool, like Alien and Terminator and all of these. And her method of it was just, well, I'm going to edit this for you. Cover your eyes. Great.
Yep.
And at that time, I was a trusting child and went, oh, I better cover my eyes. And then went, wait a minute. I can slightly open these and still see what's happening on the screen. That moment of, oh, I'm watching a sex scene from Bram Stoker's Dracula. Interesting.
That's so awesome. And it's funny because I grew up in a video store. Okay. My parents owned a video store.
You were born, you were just in between the shelves. They looked up.
Yeah, my YouTube back in the day was walking up and down the aisles looking at the cover art, trying to figure out what I was going to watch. And my parents were the same way. The only movie my mom ever shut off on me was The Exorcist. Okay. When we got to the crucifix part, she was like, this is too much. We're shutting this off. I didn't know. I was like, she's stabbing herself. Who cares? But that's the one that made my mom go, maybe I need to question some of the things I'm doing now.
Mm-hmm. She questioned Killer Clowns from Outer Space for me. She said, no, you can't watch this movie. And I went, really? I really want to watch this movie. So I would try and watch it through the scrambled vision that was on the little pay-per-view channels and everything. And I'd see like a balloon dog. I'm like, what is this? I'm interested in this. What is that face?
Yeah.
So I got super obsessed with Killer Clowns, which also is how I met James A. Janisse at a Killer Clowns concert.
That is awesome, man. Like horror. I mean, you guys are still connected with it, but that's so incredible, dude. That's awesome. That's a cool story.
Oh, it's all very weird. And that I will just say is because John Massari, the composer of Killer Clowns from Outer Space, posted a little video, and his video is of his orchestral versions of things he was doing. I'm like, this is great. I'm going to comment on it. And then he found my YouTube channel. And then I got so many comments from John Massari as he went through all my work and was like, I really like your stuff. I'm like, I really like your stuff. Your theme songs in my head constantly.
Yeah. God, it's so funny how the internet can be such a crazy tool sometimes, how it can also be such a successful and amazing thing to help so many people connect with other people.
Yeah, it's all very, very random and lovely. And just, as long as you're a good person, like James says, as long as we're good people, we'll figure it out. We'll talk to each other. It'll be fine.
That's awesome. Now I want to go back to The Gate here for a second. Mm-hmm. This is a scene, especially as a young boy, like you said, we were both young boys the first time we'd seen this, so we really related to the protagonist of the film. Which scene would you say it was that affected you the most?
Oh, 100%. It is the hands coming out from under the bed. That is the part that freaked me out so much, to the point that it was probably about a month or so that I jumped into bed. I would not stand near the bottom of a bed because of that. Because I also feel like I remember that being a kind of moment of calm a little bit, being like, well, maybe everything's okay. And then they do the like, hey, Terry, wake up. Terry, wake up. And then Terry walks in behind him like, what do you want, guys? I'm like, oh, no, dead dog, scare. Well, I guess that's enough. Monster arms, scare. Like, give me a second. Downstairs, your parents, milk face, scare. I'm just like, give me a second to breathe, movie, please.
trying to catch up. Because like I've said this before, but
So
when you
much.
go from watching The Land Before Time
Yeah.
to watching The Gate, that is quite the jump there in scenery.
Yes, not as many tree stars in The Gate as there are in The Land Before Time. Slightly longer runtime. I remember The Land Before Time is like an hour long. I even as a kid went, I feel ripped off. That there should be more movie there.
I need my money back.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a movie, like we said, with a lot of effective scenes, but what would you say your favorite scene from The Gate was?
I mean, I remember also being affected by the like light as a feather, stiff as a board levitation scene. Just being really terrified for that kid as he keeps floating, and then when he hits like the ball, the ceiling light or whatever, and it explodes on him, freaked me out. So that, you know, as I walked into rooms, I'd look out the corner of my eye and I'd see a little ceiling bulb. I'm like, I don't want to float up there. That thing will explode on me. Ooh, I don't like that. But I think the thing that people probably remember the most from this are the minions, the little creatures running around everything. And because of this movie, whenever I see a Minions advertisement for the Minions movie, I'm just like, those aren't Minions. These are
Right.
Minions are in The Gate. What are these little yellow, weird French kind of banana speaking fellas?
Yeah, and another thing about that is when they make the big minion, that was one of the scenes that legit terrified me when I was a kid. And you watch it now, and I still appreciate the practicality of this film, because it is all practical from what I can see. I don't think there's very much CGI. I think it's more claymation, if I'm not wrong here.
No, you are not wrong. They even didn't do like optical plates is what they used to do for, you know, matching shots and doing stuff. They did all the shots in camera for forced perspective. So there's like a shot of all the minions. The one I always remember that I think a lot of people remember is there's a zombie like guy that falls to the ground. And when he lands, he becomes like 20 different minions that all run around and everything like that. That was shot with like the kids up on a 20-foot platform, and then the minions shot in the distance, and they figured out a line to have it mesh within camera that they're forcing the perspective so that those are full-size people, but because they're far away from the camera, they look really tiny. And so that's all practical effects and then stop motion animation for the big demon at the end. And connection to Ghostbusters, that was it Ryan Clark? I will remember his name, but he worked on the Terror Dog stop motion in Ghostbusters. And so I always thought that last thing looked like Ghostbusters. And there's a reason, because it's the same animator and same designer and everything like that. So it always had that kind of Terror Dog feel to me that I really liked. And that was Randall William Cook, who did he was the visual effects designer and supervisor on that. And he did an amazing job. And there's some great behind the scenes stuff with him to check out.
See, this is something I'm gonna have to check out, because on the DVD version I have, there's not that many behind the scenes things. So this is something I think I'm gonna have to check out. Yeah, I would love to know everything that went into the making of The Gate, because this is a very influential movie as a little boy. And I mean, everything from the bugs breaking that window.
Yeah.
Like that's another scene as a kid. I was never a fan of bugs. Say what you will, but bugs have never been my thing. Or even another scene that everybody talks about is the eyeball in the hand.
Yes. That's
and
right.
when you have him stabbing himself in the hand, and
horrifying, absolutely horrifying. And I've already forgotten. I should have looked this up. Is this R or is this PG-13?
I want to say it's PG. It is PG-13.
It is PG-13. Okay, because I think some of these things for that time could have definitely been R. And even the director Tibor said that there was a constant kind of push and pull between, is this R? Is this PG-13? What are we going to get for this? And I think because of that, we get some stuff that I feel really pushes the PG-13, like the PG-13 in Temple of Doom with the heart ripping out, where I'm like, that feels like an R-rated. Good Lord, that's effective visual right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, the eyeball, again, amazing effect. And just when he stabs that thing, just and that's your strong kid, your main character, Stephen Dorff, in his first movie before, you know, I know him from Blade mainly, being that evil vampire god. But he did an amazing job. All the kid actors did a really amazing job, and they're the front stars, which also is a very difficult thing to do if you know from filming, because kids can work about 6 to 7 hours a day, and a movie day is usually 12 hours. And they have to be schooled at the same time, and they had to constantly use a lot of doubles and stand-ins for a lot of shots, which blend seamlessly. I couldn't tell really what they were doing there.
Right. And another thing that you just pointed out is not only can kids only work 6 to 7 hours, but kids are also kids.
Yeah.
So, they are going to be having fun and stuff too. So for a movie like this to turn out as well as it did and to hold up as long as it has is truly, truly inspirational.
Yeah. And they're so good. So good. So much so that they went on, then Louis Tripp, who played Terry, went on to do The Gate 2 a few years later and got to play it a little more towards his age there. Which I rewatched that one as well, and it's not bad. It's interesting. It's got Pamela Adlon, who is Bobby from King of the Hill, in there in one of her early movie performances. And if anyone has not seen that, it's great, because they basically capture a minion, it grants them wishes, and those wishes turn to literal shit. It's the best thing I've ever seen. Is there's an entire car that they wish for. She looks outside.
That is one big pile of shit.
Just amazing.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
See, I haven't seen 2 in such a long time.
It's on Amazon Prime now. I just was like, I hadn't seen this in a long time, and it went boom, Amazon Prime streaming. So I went, done. I will watch this again. And again, not as good as the original, but still some great moments. Same team, same writers. Although I think someone else may have come in and did a little finagling with the writing, but director and Randall also came back for special effects in that one too.
Okay. And I'm going to watch that one again too, because it's been so long since I've seen the one that I don't remember much about it. But in the first one, I think one of the scariest scenes to me, and I don't know why this has always scared me so bad, maybe because we were kids when we had seen it, but the "You've Been Naughty" scene.
Oh, yeah.
That scene to me has always been the one that, you think you're safe at this point. You've made it to the parents. And then you have the "you've been," oh my gosh, that's one of the
picks him up by like his neck, and then just the face smashing. I hate that milk face, whatever that is, like your parents' face crushing it. And again, that's the third of the scares in the monsters under the bed scene, that it's just like, that's boom, reprieve, no monsters. And the mom doesn't really, I don't think she really does much in that. She just kind of laughs in the background.
Yeah.
But
maniacal laughter in the background.
That face thing also reminded me of Poltergeist, when the guy is like pulling off his face, which again, not a PG-13 effect for me. I really don't think that's PG-13.
Well, I mean, and you gotta remember, Poltergeist is PG because they didn't have the
That's
13.
right, it is just PG. God.
And he's in there just ripping his face off.
This one is tame by that standard. But still, just great visuals, horrifying things. I know the writer Michael Nankin, he wrote this at a very dark time in his life. He was planning to he was ready to film his first movie, direct his first movie. It all fell apart at the last minute. He had to move in with his parents because he'd spent all his money in New York. And he wrote this, and it was a lot darker, very R-rated. When he first talked about it, it took over like the whole town, and there were minions everywhere and all kinds of stuff. But it comes from a very dark place, and from actual things that scared him. Like, he had a fear. Someone had told him that, hey, your place is haunted. There's a workman that they put in the walls, and he died in there, and he's living in your walls. And that's where the workman comes out of this one, is because someone told him that when he was a kid. I think actually he had a friend named Terry who told him that. So a lot of this comes from actual fears that people that he had that are relatable, which is great.
When you're bringing that up, just like when they get taken into the wall,
mm-hmm.
Like that's another scene that, as a kid, you're like, oh my God, is he dead? Is he alive? What the hell's going on here, man? So one question, Zoran, I've been recently putting on here, and this one will be perfect because it hasn't happened.
Okay.
Obviously, I'm not opposed to remakes or reboots. Would you like to see The Gate remade today?
Well, there was a rumor that I think back in 2011, Alex Winter from Bill and Ted was actually working on a remake, a 3D remake of The Gate, but then it didn't pan out or anything. I couldn't find any more on it. If I ever meet that man, aside from saying I love the movie Freaked it's the greatest film ever. I will say I want to hear what you were planning for The Gate, man. I don't know if it's, I mean, it's such a classic in my mind. It's not the best movie. I did rewatch it and I'm just like, okay, there's some clunkiness to this, but you know, it has such great moments that you forgive, you know, a lot of things in there that, you know, might not be streamlined today or whatever. But the problem, again, with any reboot is that it's going to be very CGI reliant, like the Poltergeist reboot that just felt very unnecessary. And I think you can do, and I'm more of a fan of the direct sequel stuff that they do, where they're like, we're still honoring kind of what happened, but we're doing it in this way as well. And The Gate is really, I don't think, super well known and could very easily be remade, but it just wouldn't have that same kind of, I don't know, it just wouldn't have that same kind of feel. I'm happy to give it a shot.
Right.
But reboots are very hard in general when they just start doing the exact same thing over and over again.
And especially when they do, one thing, the big problem I had with the Nightmare on Elm Street remake was you took amazing scenes like Freddy getting pushed through the latex and you did it with that CGI, you know, and like, if you're going to redo it scene for scene, shot for shot, use the same practical effects at least and just modernize it. Don't, the Thing prequel, that's another big problem I had with that, was the CG instead of the practical effects. American Werewolf in Paris, same thing. As a sequel, it had nothing on the werewolf transformation alone of American Werewolf in London. So there are definitely misses, there are definitely hits, but I think this is one of the only ones I'll say leave it alone. You know, if you do, I'd say what you like with the Candyman, with Halloween 2018, maybe it's, you know, Stephen Dorff as the parent now, and it's a continuation like that. You know, I think I would be more apt to that than a remake myself as well.
It just has such original ideas, and what, like I'm saying, the ones that don't work are the ones that are just trying to redo the movie again, kind of note for note. The ones that do work for me are like the Evil Dead remake, where it's definitely in the tone and it's got nods to the original, but it's its own story, and the kills aren't the same. They're not trying to recreate things. They're just in that world and taking that idea. And you can do, I mean, there is a possibility of a good Nightmare on Elm Street reboot if you take just the core concept of man kills people in dreams. One thing that I thought they were going to do in that reboot that I was like, oh, maybe Freddy is falsely accused. That's an interesting
I like
twist.
that idea.
And then they find a box of Polaroids of molestation, which then the guy and the girl make out shortly after that, or on that same bed where there's Polaroids of her being molested. Where I'm like, read the room. Oh, goodness.
It's so funny that that's what we go to. Like, look, if you want to kill kids, that's your business, but I don't want to hear about any pedophilia, man. You know, like I said, that's the one thing that he did that Robert Englund could never, ever do. And that's make me hate Freddy Krueger. You know, Robert Englund, we're supposed to hate him, but we couldn't because he was so charismatic. And he was on Nickelodeon doing commercials when we were kids, like, hey, drink some Pepsi. Ha!
Yeah, hosting MTV for a week and just, he was everywhere that you wanted.
Yeah.
Like a 900 number that I called once for his Freddy stories. So I could just hear someone go, and then Diane walks slowly. You're talking really slow, so you take my money.
Take the
money.
money.
Be on this for a really long time. Like, oh, my dad's coming in.
That's incredible. The first time I ever got in a whole lot of trouble was from calling the WWF hotline.
Oh yeah,
like that one got me, man.
Yeah, $4.99 the first minute, 99 cents each additional minute. Being like, well, if I get through that first minute, then it's not that much.
Right.
Wow, they took their time with those. But I think Freddy, unfortunately, he can't be remade because it's so tied to Robert. Like that's a personality one. Jason, the other voiceless mass, just mass killers, you could put other people in there, but the personality is what makes Freddy Freddy. And without Robert, it's just not going to work. I mean, Jackie did his very best and he is a great actor, but it's just not right.
He never stood a chance.
He never stood a chance. You can't go. Yeah. You can't do that. You'd have to go the complete 180, like no talking Freddy or something completely different to make it work and be its own thing and just really focus on the terror of it or something.
I agree with you. And I actually want to throw you a little bit of a curveball here. We came on here talking about the first horror movie you watched and how it affected you. But now my little buddy Ghostface has a question for you. What's your favorite scary movie, Zoran? What is your favorite horror movie of all time?
Oh, I'm not prepared for this. There's so many that live in my head. God.
I never tell anybody I'm going to ask him this question because I want a genuine seat of your pants answer to it.
Well, I will say the more obscure one would be the Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon, which is often my corner there. That movie is such a brilliant deconstruction of the slasher genre. And I was very honored to get to help with that Dead Meat end card where we got Nathan to come back and reprise his role. He is wearing my costume that I made myself.
Yes.
I'm actually taking an acting class with him next January, which I'm very excited about because he's very talented. I think highly underrated. Just also a great person too. Just very wonderful, gracious human being. So that's the one I tend to always recommend to people. Like, if you have not seen this, watch this. You will enjoy this immensely. I can now say that. Can I go with like a franchise? Like, you want one of the big franchise ones?
Let's do it.
Like, if it's a big franchise, Chucky is very much climbing up the list to be my favorite. It used to be Nightmare, but with the TV show and the respect I have for Don Mancini and the fact that that's the most consistent, same writer on every single one of those movies and has maintained its lore and knows what it reinvented itself as a comedy, then back to horror, then just, it does all the things right that I think that's the most consistently great. Freddy will always be my first slasher. It's my first love. That's the first guy I got into, is that because my buddy loved them. And his dad would always say, "Oh, I love Freddy Krueger. He kills teenagers. He's great. I don't want teenagers around here. Just kill him off, Freddy. He's a great guy."
That's awesome. I do agree with you on Child's Play, though, because even the worst one, in my opinion, in the franchise, which would be Seed of Chucky, is still not a bad movie. There's still great kills in it. It's still Chucky. I've always been a huge fan. I'm a huge sucker for Child's Play 3. It's my favorite in the franchise. I know a lot of people don't agree.
Most people always say 2. And I go, 2? There's so much fisheye lenses. Everything's a fisheye lens. Everything's wide and weird and distorted. It's grown on me since I first saw it. But I was like, this camera work is ridiculous in this movie.
So which is your favorite in the franchise?
Bride is my favorite because I am a horror comedy guy. So I will love horror comedies that are also kind of deconstructions of that as well. Thank you, Scream, for opening that up and creating this whole wonderful buffet of movies that I can enjoy, that are kind of self-aware of the world that they're in, because there's only so much that you can do with the history of the horror movies that's like, yeah, we accept all this stuff, we got to subvert, and that's the stuff that's going to be good now, is subverting the old tropes. And I mean, horror and comedy have such great, you're basically always you're either building to a punchline or you're building to a scare, and timing is everything in the edits and the way that it's written, and it's all timing with whichever one you want. And so to be able to mesh those two, and that's again why I like Tremors, because it is a great blend of, there's one moment in there that still genuinely gives me a jump scare, that gets other people jump scares in there, then I'm like, wow, effective jump scares, because it's really hard to do a jump scare for me now because I'm so desensitized to all of it that I'm like, okay, and then he's gonna come from over there, and then the cat's gonna, okay, I have 1, 2, 3, boom, there's the scare, okay, got it.
Yeah, it's amazing how that goes. It's something you just said too, how you gave it thanks to Scream. I think it's amazing that your first real love was A Nightmare on Elm Street and Freddy Krueger. And I obviously, without Wes, we wouldn't have Scream, but without Freddy, we wouldn't have Scream, because I really feel like he dipped his toes in the meta water with New Nightmare. And then that's right there is 100% the precursor to Scream, right? That came out before Scream, right? Yes.
I'm not crazy. Okay.
No, yeah, you're right. And I honestly, I think I'm happy that that movie kind of bombed, because if it wouldn't have bombed, maybe we wouldn't have got Scream. And if Wes Craven's New Nightmare would have took off huge, maybe he would have continued the meta through the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise rather than creating its own thing with Scream. So, I'm glad that New Nightmare is getting the recognition it deserves now. It's kind of like the Halloween 3 season of The Witch, where it's starting to get that cult following now.
The best. I will stand by that. That is my favorite Halloween movie. I am not a huge fan of Michael Myers. I have respect for Michael Myers in the original and for what it is and everything like that. But those are the ones that I probably enjoyed the least, the Halloween films.
I've made it very vocal that between Halloween and Texas Chainsaw, those are the two as a whole franchise. And to me, growing up, like you said, we grew up watching horror. Halloween was always kind of like white bread. It's just a regular guy stabbing people, where Jason is very inventive with his kills and Freddy is this nightmare demon that's funny. And I've grown to appreciate Michael the older I've gotten, because I think he's probably the most scary when it comes to being realistic, because he is just a guy that went crazy. But I agree with you. Growing up, Halloween was always at the bottom of the list, and now that I'm older, it's still down there towards the bottom with Texas Chainsaw. Like, I don't understand how Texas Chainsaw had 1 and 2, and then everything else it had after that. I'll never, for the life of me, understand how that happened.
I mean, I think that one just worked really well with the reboot. That was one of the first big reboots that Platinum Dunes did, and it was very effective, made a lot of money. So then they went, okay, we'll do a prequel to that one, and then we'll do another one. They all stayed in that kind of vein, where the first ones, I love Texas Chainsaw 2. I actually think that one's one because it's so silly and weird, and it's got great set pieces, and I love that one. More so than I think even the original for myself. I came late to the game for Texas Chainsaw and also for Halloween. I did not watch the Halloween series until probably like 6 years ago. I watched the whole thing. I started a franchise marathon. Every Halloween, I watch a whole franchise of films as a marathon for my Halloween celebration. And that was the first one I did, was watch all of those and went, whew. Well, there's some ones I got to get through here. Michael's Blonde. Okay. Cult of Thorn. All right. That's a thing. Oh, Paul Rudd. Hey, how you doing? Okay, great. And now we've erased all that. There's 5 separate timelines in that damn series that it goes its own thing. They have their own into the Michaelverse thing going on there. It's crazy. That's why I like Chucky. Chucky consistent. And
one storyline
that's been going on, that he worked his ass off to work, takes breaks, comes back, works well. TV series is freaking great. I loved it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's another one that you got genuine jump scares. You got genuine laughs. There was times during the whole TV series that I belly laughed. I'm very happy we're going to be getting a season 2. The only thing that bums me out is no more Devon Sawa. I'm a huge Devon Sawa fan, so that really bums me out.
Spoilers. He just packed up his suitcase and he's in Maui. That's what happened at the end of the season.
Took a flight.
It was flight 187 or no, whatever flight. I can't remember. Whatever flight. It's a bad flight. You should not be taking whatever that flight is. It's gonna not end well for him.
Right. In the first or fifth one, it didn't end well. But man, I've had such a good time with you, Zorn, getting to know you, and I appreciate your time so much. But before we go, I always end this with the same question. We're going to go back to the gate, and what we're going to do now is we're going to rank this on a skull count, 0 being the worst and 5 being the best. Now, here's the catch. We're not being critics. We're not judging it on production, score, acting, nothing like that. We're judging this movie strictly on how much it affected you on first watch. So like I said, 0 skulls being the worst, not effective, and 5 being the best, very effective. What would your ranking of the gate be?
I mean, doesn't everyone say 5 skulls if it's like the one they remember as their first? I mean, I would say 5 skulls because it's the one that stuck with me the most, and the only other one that I can think of that stuck with me the most was actually just a section from the Twilight Zone movie, the John Lithgow Terror at 40,000 feet or whatever. Yeah. That little gremlin thing freaked me out.
Gremlin on the wing.
And I was watching the gate again, and there's a moment where they like open a window and the minion's just like right there on the window. I'm like, oh, it's just like it's the plane. Oh, I don't like it. No.
So man, again, this has been incredible. Like I said, I've been a big fan of yours for a long time, and I'm really glad we were finally able to make this happen. And I want to remind everybody, not only do I have all the YouTube links, but I have the social media links right down here in the description. So if you're not already following my dude Zorn, make sure you do. please check out They Talk and be ready for the Tremors kill count. By the time this is released, it's going to be right around the same time. So make sure you're checking that out. This guy's pouring his heart and soul into it, and he's going to give us an amazing product that I promise you guys are going to enjoy. It's not going to skip a beat. Check that out right there.
It's my graboid egg, a custom-made graboid egg.
Might hatch an ass blaster.
It might. No, it hatches a grabite, or an unofficially named baby graboid that you'll see in part 4 only.
Yep. That's the Old West one, isn't it?
That's the Old West one. And much like Back to the Future Part 3, which I did not like as a child, it has grown on me and become one of my favorite Back to the Futures. And now Part 4 has grown on me, and I actually really enjoy it.
Wow. So, see, that's the only one I never really got into. I'm gonna have to give it another shot now.
That one I've gotten more into, just having a rewatch and doing the writing for it. I'm like, ooh, well, this is all right. There's some good stuff in here, and I like this. I like what they're doing. And it was a return to practical after some CGI forays in the third one that did not work out as well. No offense to the team that tried to put that together on a very low budget and on a very truncated schedule with like double the shots that they were supposed to do. So not their fault, but I'm glad that they stuck with the practicality of it because it worked very well.
It actually did. Now, I do want to ask, you are doing the whole Tremors franchise, correct?
Yes, not the series. I am just doing the movies.
Right, just the films.
Not the 13 episodes that were filmed in Mexico, where they were trying to do even lower budget with new monsters every week. And they tried. That's all I can say is they tried, and it was not a positive shoot environment for them, but they survived. And I love the team at Stampede Entertainment. They're very creative, and I'm really sad that they're not working really anymore in a lot of things, because they're wonderful. Brett Maddock and Steve S.S. Wilson. Love those writers. Very talented.
And I grew up with Tremors. So, having this be your franchise that you're going to be covering is so awesome, because this is one I've been waiting for. I've been hoping for. I've had my fingers crossed for. And I couldn't ask for a better time for this to come out, man. So I wish you the best of luck, and I can't wait to check this out.
Well, thank you very much. And I'm very honored to be on this podcast talking about horror with a fan like you. And I saw the video of your daughter watching They Talk and absolutely touched. And I'm very glad that I'm able to bring joy. That's really all I know how to do, is I am able to bring some joy to people's lives. And I'm very honored that I'm able to do that. Very lucky that that's what I can do for a living right now.
Well, if you ever get to that point, man, where you start feeling like you can't, go back and watch that video, man, because I promise you have had an effect on someone's life. And it makes my daughter love horror. I mean, the minute she has any type of technology, she either wants Scare Me, Michael, or Chucky. Those are the three things that she always wants: Scare Me, Michael, or Chucky. And without you, that may not have happened. So I can't thank you enough. My 9-year-old daughter, the only horror she watches is Chucky, and that's because of Ice Nine Kills. She loved the song Assault and Batteries. And so now she'll watch Chucky. But my youngest was all about They Talk. I was watching it one day and I was laughing, and she came up and cuddled up with me, and me and her the whole day. We just watched it all day. And now it's every time there's any type of technology around. I still watch those episodes at least probably 4 to 5 times a week. So that's how much of an impact it has in the Sledge household, man. So if you guys haven't watched it, I promise you, you're missing out. You're going to laugh. And it's going to make you look at these movies in a whole new light. Now,
it'll ruin. I'm hoping that it will ruin movies for people, that they'll just be watching the actual 13th and being like, "Oh man, now there's the moose in the background as a witness."
Books, my one weakness.
Yeah, all this jokes that I put in there.
I love it, man. Season one had everything from The Predator, Happy Death Day, Halloween, Friday the 13th, Scream. Like, it's amazing. And the hard work, I can't imagine the hard work that when it's not only writing, but editing and putting these all together. It's not an easy job that what you guys do. And a lot of people look at what you got. You guys are YouTubers, but it's not like that, man. The hard work and constant thinking, and it's draining to do the work that you guys do. And that's why the fans in the horror community are so accepting and so understanding when things change a little bit, because goddamn, we know how hard you guys work. And we're so proud to be fans of yours, and so proud to be able to watch you guys and watch you grow from where you guys started to where you guys are at now. I mean, you're hosting something that over 5 million people are in love with. And, that comes to you, and everybody that I've talked to, that I've read comments about, or they couldn't be more excited about the fact that James is taking a break, not because we're tired of James, but because we know as fans that he deserves a break. And not only are they excited about that, but they're excited about the fact that you're the one that's going to be running it from there. Like you've made that much of an impact on us just with your producing, with all the editing work you've done. Your name's been out there for a long time, and everybody's been fans of yours for a long time. So to see you step up and grab the ball and be able to run with it, we're so excited to watch how this goes for you, man. Everybody is rooting for you.
Thank you so much. Oh my God. That means so much. That's absolutely, it is an amazing community. I'm very, very happy to be a part of it. And I am in those comments as well, trying to let people know, be like, hey, I'm here and I appreciate what you've said. You're all wonderful, great, supportive. And that's really nice to hear, because we all beat the crap out of ourselves and just like, no, we can do more. We should do that. It's almost like Schindler's List of like, if only I'd had this could have been another video, and this, over here, if I hadn't gone to that party at my friend's place, I could have been making more content for you. I could have done more.
But you're always your own worst critic, man.
Oh yeah, we beat ourselves up all the time, and that's because we're creatives. We want to do the best stuff possible. We never want to put out, subpar things, and we're going to put the work and time into it because it's what we would want to watch, and that's what you guys want to watch.
And I think that shows in the community by the amount of support you guys get. It's not just because we love watching kills that much, which we do, but it's also because it's so genuine. Like I said, meeting James and Chelsea and talking to them, they were the most genuine people. And I knew then, I was like, these people have my support for the rest of my life. They're Michigan kids like me. And, being from the Midwest was a huge connection, but just the amount of time they take to really care about their fans and the people that mean a lot, that they mean a lot to. It's overwhelming sometimes to see how much goes into what you guys do, and yet you're still willing to come and sit on a podcast with me and hang out for an hour. Like, it's so cool, man. It really means a lot to us so much.
Well,
so everybody, I want to
not going anywhere.
What's up?
I'm around. I'm not going anywhere.
So good, man.
Don't worry.
I can't wait to see the new Tremors kill count, man. I'm so excited for it. And I'm not going to lie, I'm very, very excited for They Talk season 2, but I know you're going to need a huge break before then. But I promise you, I will be glued to every episode the minute it premieres. Don't go anywhere, Zoran. I got a couple more questions for you. Great. Everybody else, don't forget, click these links down here in the description. Follow him on social media. Subscribe to the YouTube channels if you haven't already. They Talk is a priority for you now. But until next time, keep talking horror, stay what you are, and we'll see you guys soon.